This is okay. This is great. This is a work of art. Now, what's the difference between the three physiques? It's the abs. Everyone that hits the gym can build muscle, but not everyone can get six-pack abs. It shows a level of leanness, discipline, and dedication that only a few men can muster up. This video will show you how you can get abs fast, so you can go to the beach with your friends this summer and take off your shirt with confidence. Let's get into it. So the way to get abs fast is to attack it from both sides. What do I mean by this? You have your core muscles, then it's covered by all this layer of belly fat. So you need to reduce and thin out the fat layer and make the abs bigger at the same time. As long as you do that, you're well on your way to getting abs this summer. Okay, so the first part of this video, we're actually going to go into how to make the ab muscles bigger so they protrude more. The second part, we're going to get into how to thin out the layer. You must do both. Let's get into the first point. Imagine a tree in the rainstorm. There are some trees that just fall apart and other trees just stay sturdy because they have a thick, healthy trunk. This is what the abs are for your body. It's like the trunk that stops you from falling off side to side whenever there's some little thing that tries to topple you. Now, if you train in the gym and all you're doing is just machine exercises, you're just sitting there, just lifting things up, standing there with your arms fixed, doing tricep extensions, sat there extending your legs, doing leg extensions. It doesn't really require you to stabilize yourself, to balance yourself, to engage the core. Now, when you do free weight exercises, bench press, squats, deadlifts, at each second, you have to make sure that you don't topple over, that you don't fall backwards or forwards or diagonally. So what's happening is that your core is getting engaged, not just your abs, your obliques, your lower back, everything is engaged to make sure you stay like that strong trunk. The effect of that is that not only are you training those muscles at all times, you're actually able to overload them with heavy weights. Why? Because in compound movements, you usually deal with heavier weights. 80% of getting big ab muscles comes from doing free weight compound movements. Next, when we talk about the abs, it's not just the six-pack that you see, which people obsess about, it's also the obliques. It's those two things on each side that really give that outer definition to the abs and make you look like a Greek Spartan warrior. And the obliques get neglected. It's arguably even more functional than the abs because it's really what stops you from toppling from side to side. And again, how do you engage them? How do you train them? By doing unilateral exercises where you have to balance and not fall over. In the upper body, you might do unilateral shoulder presses. Each time you're stabilizing with your obliques. And in the lower body, you could obviously do lunges, Bulgarian split squats, ATG split squats that require you to balance and stop you from toppling over. Again, you will always be working your abs this way. This is what's going to give you 80% of the result when it comes to building a healthy, strong core. Next. Okay, now we finally move on to the ab exercises because they do help, and it's like training the biceps. You want to get big biceps with doing chin-ups, but eventually you do want to do bicep curls to add that extra little cream on top. My favorite ones will always be the hanging knee raises and hanging leg raises, because when you actually get abs, you're going to get a 2-pack first, and the 2-pack's going to be at the top, then you're going to get a 4-pack, which is the middle 2, then you're going to get a 6-pack, which is the bottom 2, because belly fat tends to gather at the bottom of the belly. But if you work that lower 2 abs, which the hanging knee and leg raises preferentially target the lower abs, then you're balancing out that natural pace at which abs get revealed, and you're working the lower 2 abs, which probably get the least amount of attention in all the other exercises. On top of that, I think it's a very functional ab exercise because you're hanging, and hanging is very healthy. It's also good for your grip strength. And here's an extra bonus pro tip. Why does muscle grow? Because it needs to withstand the stress. The problem is that people are doing 30, 40, 50 reps of crunches, and your body's like, okay, I feel tired, bro, but why do I need to get bigger? I just handled 50 times what you wanted me to do. I can do it next time. But if it's heavy, like you do weighted knee raises, weighted, like with a dumbbell between your feet, then your body can only do it 6 times, 8 times, and it's like, oh my God, okay, that was hard. Let me get bigger and stronger for the next time. I always talk about building strength in that 5 to 10 rep range, and doing weighted knee raises is a pro tip that only some of you will take, but those of you that do, you'll get insane results. Next, so now we're going on to thinning out the fat layer part, and the first point obviously has to be you need to drop body fat by staying in a moderate calorie deficit. Let's take the moderate part. Why do you want to stay in a moderate deficit? Because if you go too fast, you're always going to bounce back. You've probably experienced it before. So don't try to take shortcuts when it comes to fat loss. Slow it down. And the next big mistake is that people seem to think, if I work out my ab with ab exercises and it hurts over there, that means the fat's going away from that part of the body. If you've seen a lot of my videos, you know by now that spot reduction is not a thing. You can't just lose fat from your belly and nowhere else on your body. And for most people, it is the last place that you're gonna lose fat. Your arms, your face, and your belly mostly, especially for guys. So what you have to do is just stay in a caloric deficit long enough until your body starts to take fat from the belly and eventually from that lower belly, from the gut. You just gotta stick with it and be patient, and that's the only thing you can do. Next, the reason most people actually can't get abs is because they do too much high intensity cardio. I know it's a bit controversial, but you're going out there doing all this sweaty football, jiu-jitsu, boxing, all of these things, and you come home, you're super hungry, and you just eat like a madman, and you eat way more than what you burn. And even if you manage to control yourself that night, the next day you eat truckloads. That's basically why I never got abs when I was in high school, and I used to play football literally 3 hours a day, intense football 3 hours a day, and I still had belly fat. Why? Because I was eating so much. So instead of doing all that, just walk. Walking just melts the fat. Imagine as you walk that the fat's just melting away and it's just going away from everywhere. And that's exactly what happens if you walk 10,000 steps a day. Now, most people don't prioritize it because they're like, oh, it doesn't feel like I'm doing much. It doesn't matter what it feels like. It matters what's actually happening. And what's actually happening is that you're being very smart about your fat loss by taking it easy on your mind and on your body, staying in a deficit and just walking 10,000 steps. If 10,000 steps is hard, which it is for most people, try to just do it 3 times a week to start. Build up to it. 5K, 6K, 7K steps. Gradually build up. But the key point here is to walk instead of doing all this other hardcore cardio. Next, drink lots of water. This is huge. This is another one of these points that you're like, oh yeah, you know, I get it, it's healthy, blah, blah, blah. I'm not really gonna do it. You're not really gonna do it, are you? You're not really gonna watch this video and actually drink more water tomorrow, are you? What water does is it not only helps with fat loss, because you're constantly peeing out the extra toxins, extra whatever you have to flush out, and you're getting less bloated and just chunky. It just makes you healthier. It makes you feel better. And most importantly, when you're hydrated, you don't get false hunger signals. Most people mistake dehydration for hunger. They just somehow crave something. I had it earlier today where I came back from working outside and I came home and I just really wanted to eat something. It was almost like stress eating. I just wanted to just eat. And I remember thinking, I'm not actually hungry, am I? And the eating was basically thirst. Now, most people won't think like this. When they get that urge, they're not gonna make that extra step of thinking it's thirst. They're just gonna go for the food. What's the buffer against that is you stay hydrated so that those impulsive cravings come less. You'll be surprised how much of your hunger signals is actually fake when you start having 500 milliliters, like a pint of water, regularly throughout the day. And getting a fat water bottle that you have to finish is a good way to do that. Because if you get a small water bottle, you're always thinking subconsciously, how do I save it so that I can drink more and stop refilling it? Whereas if you have a fat water bottle, you're thinking, how do I finish this goddamn thing? Do you see the lengths I go to help you? Next is reduce foods that are gonna make you bloated. For me, it's processed fried food and carbs. Korean instant ramen will get me really, really bloated. Like I'll get this fat belly protruding out. And fried food from the Korean street market, that will usually make me bloated. Find out which one it will be for you, but I would wager a bet that it's similar to mine. So fried food, processed food, somehow is gonna make you that air food filled belly bloated look. And of course, that's just not a good look to have if you want to have abs. By the way, if you get big ab muscles, when you get bloated like this, you might still be able to see the outline, but it's just not an aesthetic look and it's not healthy for you. So reduce foods that cause you to be bloated, which by the way are usually foods that are high in calories. All right, so there you have it, guys. You want to make the abs bigger, thin out the layer, and that's the fastest, no bullshit way of getting abs fast. See you in the next one. Bye-bye.